Good morning, everyone. This is Marty Harger, and today I want to talk with you about some ideas that may be helpful in your yoga practice and the use of the doTERRA essential oils when you're struggling to speak your piece. This is an issue that's a challenge for many of us at different times. When we are at peace with our fifth chakra, which is the throat area, it would be the throat, kind of the shoulders, and around the clavicle. So it's all really this area of the body. When we're having challenges in that part of the body, it can come in many forms. And so emotionally, we're talking about a time when we are in balance in our fifth chakra or the throat chakra. We're actually talking about feeling centered, feeling content and peaceful, being able to speak our piece, be able to have free expression, free communication, and really say what's in our hearts and our minds to share that with other people. It's also part of taking a stand for what you believe in. And at this time in our universe, I will just say that we all need to raise our voices and speak out about the things in our communities and in our lives and in our state, our country, our world that we stand for. And I think that the essential oils give us yet another tool to add into getting the clarity that we're seeking to be able to communicate those messages. So today, as we talk about the Vishuddha or the fifth chakra, I want to share with you a couple of things. First of all, the color of this chakra is blue, and it's a blue or turquoise, which is why I'm wearing a little bit of both, even in my goofy little earrings here, my beautiful feather earrings, actually. I wanted to talk about some of the things that you may experience if you feel that you may be stuck in communicating or speaking your piece. So there are a couple of different things that can happen. One of them is that we have excessive energy in the throat chakra, and this is typically manifested with talking too much. And I have a tendency to want to talk a lot, and I try hard to listen as well. But sometimes you may have run into a friend or someone that you know that just could probably talk for hours without taking a breath. And that may be a sign of a little bit of excessiveness in the throat chakra or fifth chakra area. As a contrary thing on excessive energy, it also could be someone who has something to say where they're absolutely inflexible on what they're saying. They feel self-righteous. They might be manipulative in their conversation. They might be making up stories or telling lies or untruths. And this is someone who may have excessive energy in this part of the body. The throat, shoulder, clavicle area is where it would physically manifest. And yet energetically, this is an area where when it's weakened, we may feel timid or shy or unable to speak our piece. And we may not feel like it's safe to speak up, or we may be fearful about saying things. We could be inconsistent in speaking or holding back and saying things and then not really saying things. So we're manipulating through communication. This is something that we can also recognize an imbalance in the fifth chakra when we have issues in this part of the body. So for instance, something like a sore throat, something like tonsillitis. We may have issues of shoulder injuries, or we may find that we have tension in our neck or that radiates up into the head. We may have things like TMJ, where the jaw is actually locking and not unable to communicate or move naturally. Some other things that sometimes happen are even manifesting tooth problems and hiccups. So it's things about the mouth, speaking and communicating what's happening for us. So I want to tell you a little bit of a story about an experience that I've had personally with this whole throat chakra being blocked. And it's interesting because it was actually during a time that I was participating in an organization called Toastmasters. And some of you may be familiar with Toastmasters. It is a club that happens in most towns or big cities where people go to learn how to be better at speaking, public speaking and leadership. And it's a great program, and I encourage people to do it. But what happens in Toastmasters is that if it's a good club, there are a lot of people that are there who are very experienced speakers, and they are quite eloquent. They can, just spontaneously or impromptu, and they always make sense. It sounds fascinating, whatever they have to say. And so what happens is they have these table topics, and they will kind of randomly call on you in the group to get up and speak for a minute on this topic. And you're supposed to try to make sense of it and have a structure to the way you present and this kind of thing. Anyway, I really struggled with the spontaneous speaking. I'm much better working from a script or working from at least getting my thoughts on paper and practicing and rehearsing so that I can speak and say something. But even I found not only in these table topics at Toastmasters, but I also found that when I would rehearse a longer speech, like a 3-minute speech or a 7-minute speech at home, I was very comfortable speaking. But when I got in front of this audience of these polished speakers, or what I would view as polished speakers, who were actually there to provide feedback to me about my speech, what was good about it, what needed work, what was great about it. They were, in a sense, judging me. And I just found that my whole throat would just like seize up, and it was really tough for me. So I found that using the lavender essential oil was really, really helpful. And the way I would use it was for speaking was to put a drop or two in my hand and rub my hands together. And then I would literally just coat my throat with it. Okay, so I would just, put that lavender all over. Not only would it calm the musculature in the throat and all of the vocal cords, but it would also help me aromatically. By being close to the nose, I could smell that calming feeling of lavender. So lavender is probably the most common oil that we think of to balance throat chakra energy or fifth chakra. And there are a couple other uses for this, I think, in a setting. Sometimes when we find ourselves in a place where we want to talk about the doTERRA essential oils. Sometimes people have a concern about how will I be received or what will other people think. And so they hold back information about their truth. And so the oils and blends that I want to share with you are about trying to express yourself and be comfortable with that. You may also find yourself needing what's called Crucial Conversations. This is an audio version of that book, Crucial Conversations, which is a great book for those who struggle to express their truth and their and what they need to say to someone important in their lives, whether that's at home or at work. And it really is a helpful thing. So when we're teaching classes about essential oils or about business of doTERRA, if we're teaching yoga, whether you are a very seasoned instructor or you're someone like myself who's just getting started with that, a lot of times we get stuck in this energy here where we just can't speak what really is in our heart and let it come out. So today I want to give you a couple of specific essential oils that I think would be very, very helpful and that are recommended in opening the throat chakra and allowing our speech to flow freely and honestly, to be truthful, and to be able to come from a place of integrity with open communication. So some of those are oils that give us strength. And so to strengthen a weakened throat chakra where we're not able to come out with that, the lavender is a great choice. Frankincense is another. And then some of the oils that actually you may not think of, and I wouldn't put these on my throat, by the way. I would dilute them using them with a fractionated coconut oil and perhaps sharing them on the feet. But the two oils that are often suggested are oregano and ginger. And why do we use oregano and ginger for throat chakra? Because it gives us a place to stand strong. And in fact, you could incorporate this with asana practice there, maybe even something like just standing in tree pose or mountain pose, just really holding your ground, and then letting that rise up through you and coming out through your voice. So the oregano and the ginger are great choices to ground yourself in what it is that you need to speak in your open heart. But another oil that we like to use a lot for communication is spearmint. And this is an oil emotionally that is for confident speech. So a perfect choice to match with your Crucial Conversations is spearmint. In fact, maybe it should come with the book. So if you have a crucial conversation to have with employees or coworkers, family members, children, someone in your community, spearmint combined with lavender, the oil of communication, these two together would be a beautiful combination to make something in a roller perhaps that you might use on your throat. Now, I wanted to throw a couple of other ideas in today on throat chakra opening and balancing, and those are the oils that include blue tansy. So blue tansy, because of its color even, and the yarrow palm, are oils that are about calming and giving us the confidence and the strength to come forward. They are very powerful oils. As you know, a little drop of this, either one of these, goes a long way. And yarrow palm is very good at excavating deep emotional issues. And so this might be a beautiful choice to put on the throat as you practice speaking more and more what's coming from your heart and offering truthful, honest, open communication. Now, in our yoga practice, we may also want to incorporate some of the pre-blended combinations from doTERRA. And the two that come to mind for me most easily would be the passion blend, to speak with passion of your own truth. This is the undiluted one, which you could put in the diffuser, or you could use the touch version and roll that on your throat. Passion is a beautiful combination of oils. Interestingly, another blend that is suggested, the opposite of speaking loudly, is to whisper. So if you're someone who has excessive throat energy, you talk a lot, and people sometimes say, can you please stop talking? Or they may just, you get the hint that you've worn them out, right? And so, you might find for those who are feeling, either they recognize it in themselves, or if you're with somebody who maybe is speaking more than they maybe should, or trying to manipulate a situation through their words, making up stories, maybe put a little bit of whisper on their throat, soften a little bit, soften that energy. So if it's excessive, like, how can we take it down? So the lavender brings it down, the whisper brings it down. And for those who need to fire it up, things like the oregano and ginger diluted, the blue tansy and yarrow palm, and the passion, the frankincense, oils that are powerful to bring forth what it is that you want to say. Now, for those of you that are looking at ways to incorporate the essential oils with your yoga practice, using affirmations with the application of oils is a fantastic thing to do. And when we're talking about the throat chakra, we're going to be using, like in this case, if let's say I'm using a little bit of whisper, I would be making an affirmation as I inhale that aroma, which would be something like, I speak, or I express. So I might be saying, I speak clearly in explaining my needs. I speak clearly in explaining my needs. I express my thoughts openly. I express my thoughts openly. Now, if I was trying to calm excessive throat energy, I might say that I listen. I listen more than I speak today. I listen clearly to others' opinions. I am open to learning more by closing my mouth or whatever. That's not really an affirmation, but you get the idea. So the idea with an affirmation is that it's got to be personal to you. And when we're talking about the throat chakra, fifth chakra, we want to be focusing on things like starting with I speak. We may be talking about I express. And then, of course, we can come back to I listen if I'm overly excessive in my throat chakra energy. In terms of pranayama practice, one of the easiest things to think about is how can I just focus on ujjayi breathing and the use of the softness in the throat as the air comes in and out against the vocal cords. This is a wonderful thing to just continue to focus on. And if you're an instructor, I think sometimes we may assume everybody in the class knows what we're talking about when we discuss different forms of breath work, including ujjayi. And I've found it always fascinating over the years to hear different instructors explain the process of where and how the throat opens and air comes back in and out of the lungs, and why, the mechanics of it, and then really the benefit of it. And I think that this is something that we could all use more of as we begin to speak our piece and our truth at this time in our world and our culture and our universe, where we need to be more clear about the things that are important to us, the integrity that we want to bring forth in the world. In terms of asana practice, when we think about throat chakra, throat opening, some of these may be commonsensical in terms of opening, which would be any kind of back bending posture where we're extending the neck, something even like a full cobra posture. We may be doing some kind of thing as actually just in closing the throat and in opening the throat. We may want to be looking at a combination of shoulder stand or plow, followed by a gentle fish pose, opening of the throat. So a closing and an opening. So kind of a pumping action, much like the Ujjayi breath work would be. This would be the closing, opening of the breath, closing, opening of the physical tissue of the throat and the shoulders. So any kind of back bending posture where we're opening up the throat for allowing the freedom of communication is also a great thing to do before you have to give a talk. You know, you can know that professional singers often run the scales with their voice before they perform. And again, it's an opening, it's an exercising of getting that moving so that one can speak what one wants to do. It's a great reason to rehearse what you want to say out loud. So I hope that this was helpful as you get an idea of ideas to incorporate into your yoga practice and into your life about the opening of the throat chakra, the balancing of the throat chakra, whether you have energy that needs to be brought up or energy that needs to be calmed down in this area. You can begin to understand some of the many tools you can use in terms of color, affirmation, essential oils, aspects of your asana practice, your pranayama breath work, and also affirmations. The power of affirmations combined with inhalation of essential oils is really profound. So I hope you're enjoying this series. Please come back and visit with me next week when we'll continue on from here. And I wish you all a wonderful week. Namaste.